Taking Flight by Nyan Sangetsu, Chapter 7, The Fourth Fracture, Settling In. You don't get it. Trust is the same thing as reliance. Some say it's the fault of a coward. In the tribe, we couldn't trust anyone but ourselves. Naruto, Crow, me. There was a time when any one of us would have stabbed the other in the back for power, and then we got our asses kicked. Individually, each of us were beaten, but together we were strong. Once we realized that, we never looked back. Well, we'll do whatever it takes, not just win, but to survive. So think on your words before you call us cowards. Raven, the fourth fracture, settling in. This isn't happening. This cannot be happening. You need to be rude. Arrgh! Naruto pinched his nose and struggled to keep a stoic smile affixed to his face as he walked ahead of Glinda. For his part, his new partner, and didn't that just burn? Didn't challenge him further. She simply trailed in his wake, is like a silent shadow. Perhaps she sensed his anger. Maybe she felt regrets of her own. It might have been something else altogether. Who could say? He wasn't about to test her. Something told him a wicked temper lurked beneath that calm facade, and he had no desire to rouse it. No offense, he murmured as he peeled back a branch for his fellow blonde, but I was looking for someone else as my partner. I see. Her brow forward as she slipped under his arm. She really didn't. You're talking about the girl with the dark hair, the one you were with this morning? He grimaced. Yeah. You do realize you may be able to work with her? Our team isn't complete. Maybe not, but it would be soon. The whiskered warrior bit back a shot before it could burst free from his lips. Didn't she see? Unless Raven somehow blundered into Crow, unlikely given his spade of bad luck, and made him her partner, then no matter what combination they went with, he would be forced to go without one of his best friends. That burned. He wanted to be on a team with them, nobody else. He had nothing against Glinda personally, and he just didn't know her. And trust came with time and proximity, and right now they had neither of them. A distant shout caught their ears. It sounded like Raven. Naruto sighed. Fine. Come on, partner. Let's see if we can salvage this. Allow me. Glinda withdrew something that looked vaguely like a wand from a holder on her leg with a wave of her weapon. Just what the hell was that thing? The branches ahead of them withdrew of their own accord, pushed away as though touched by an unseen hand. A bystander would have thought the very forest itself came alive. Naruto knew better. He was just about to remark on that when a stray Beowulf burst from cover and bounded towards them, and jaw gaping wide. Watch out! He dove forwards, reaching for his weapon. Glinda raised her free hand and clenched it into a cruel claw. The grim froze in midair with a rasping gurgle, paws scrabbing at nothing. As he looked on, his fellow blonde gave her wrist a vicious twist. All around them, the air shimmered. The grim did not. It almost pivoted, showering them with bits of black ash and white bone. Another twist sent the beast's ruined corpse crashing away into the emerald forest. Glinda hummed and flicked a stray strand of shadow from her shoulder. Shall we move on then? Huh. Neat. Despite his anger, the wayward warrior found himself whistling as he gave chase. That's a useful semblance. Telekinesis, isn't it? Yes, Glinda preened, but a little over her shoulder, her green eyes hooded in silent satisfaction. I've not mastered it yet, so it's good for little more than brutal force at present. Nothing like yours, I'm sure. Naruto missed a step. Excuse me? Your semblance. Glinda bowled on, utterly unaware of the landmine she just trotted upon. It must be a powerful one indeed for Professor Yin to take notice of you and your companions. The reminder galled Naruto, burning him to his very bones. He winced, and not just for the mention of Yin at that semblance. He wouldn't know. Raven had her portals, and Crow his luck. But his, whatever it was, it hadn't made an appearance. It was something of a sore subject for him, even now. Semblances weren't simply a hand trick to call on in a pinch. They were part of one soul. They made you who you were. What did that mean then when he'd not unlocked his? No matter what he did, no matter what he said, no matter what danger he threw himself into, it never emerged. Sometimes it felt like it was right there, waiting for him to call on it, but he didn't know how. In the end, he settled for the truth. I haven't unlocked mine yet. Something in his anger must have shown through his expression because Glinda abstained. Damn it. Jade eyes widened behind her glasses in alarm, a faint fracture etching through her stern facade. I didn't mean to offend you. He didn't respond, and anxiety flitted across her face. And now you must think I'm an insensitive bitch with more tits than sense. Naruto blinked. Who was this girl, and what had she done with Glinda? Shit. She spat the word 3 times, each one harsher than the last. I haven't put my foot in my mouth like this in ages. At length, she pinched the brow of her nose and sighed. I'm making an ass of myself, aren't I? Her voice slipped but a little, falling into a more rural Valian accent he vaguely recognized. I'm sorry. She pivoted but a little, looking at him over one shoulder. It made her look oddly vulnerable. Can you find it in your heart to forgive me? Naruto blinked, somewhat taken aback by the curse. Maybe she wasn't such a prissy bitch after all. Nah, it's fine. He waved her down. Couldn't help but notice the accent there, though. Sure enough, Glinda stiffened, and the sight gave birth to a grin. You're not quite as perfect as you pretend to be, are you? Her face flamed with a high color. Can we talk about something else, please? Anything else? Fair enough. Naruto stiffened a laugh. Instead of a laugh, it became a snort instead. Let's get going. We're burning daylight. Just ahead of them, the brush parted and a frazzled raven stumbled through, gasping for breath. She saw the two of them and stiffened, back arching in distress. Naruto blinked. Raven blinked right back at him. A pall of silence fell over their unlikely reunion as they balked at one another. He winced, expecting an outburst of anger. Something, anything. He was not prepared. Save me! Huh? His best friend all but leaped into his arms and climbed over him in her haste to escape her pursuer. Hide me! Do something! Anything! She's crazy! I beg your pardon! Behind her, Willow Schnee emerged from the undergrowth, angry and flushed. You're the crazy one! Liar! Raven was having none of it. She's absolutely insane. Don't let that smile fool you. She giggles when she kills Grim. She's evil. Evil, I tell you. Evil! Glinda made a noise that sounded vaguely like a laugh. Congratulations, I think you broke her. Naruto exhaled in a long-suffering sigh. This is my life now. Aha! See? Ying thrashed about on the ground, legs kicking, and howled with laughter. I told you it would happen, all according to plan. Quite. Osmond arched an eyebrow. You're never going to let me live this down, are you? Nope, she grinned. Not on your life. And I'll pay up, geezer. The old man sighed. This is my life now, it seems. It had been simpler before he'd met her. This is my life now. Someone shoot me. Crow wasn't sure if he should laugh or cry. Maybe if he repeated the lie often enough, it would stick. He might even come to believe it himself. Better yet, none of this could be real. He'd rather like that. Maybe it was just some fever dream, a story pinned up by a madman in a fit of wild inspiration. Wouldn't that be a hoot? Yeah, not bloody likely. His fate was sealed the moment he laid eyes upon Summer Rose. Even if it hadn't been, the arrival of those two had cemented it further. What were their names again? He remembered the bigger blonde, if only because the cheeker bastard wouldn't stop running his mouth. Taiyang, right? He could remember that much, at least. At least he kept Summer occupied. Those two chattered enough for the four of them, but Tai's companion threw Crow for a loop. You're not going to let that joke go, are you? No. Her growl spoke volumes. All that anger could fill a bookshelf. Crow felt his shoulder drop. She was a tiny little thing with tan skin and hair the color of spun gold, and short, very short. She barely topped 4 feet, even with those boots of hers. He'd remarked on her size once, and she'd not stopped glaring at him since. What was her name again? Rumpelstiltskin, nope, Rumpel, nope, Shante Rumpel. That was it. There was another joke to be had there somewhere, but he dared not make it. She would absolutely feel him alive if he went there. Alright, this could work. Just gotta keep telling himself that. Really, he was almost grateful when they found the relics first. At least then, this farce would be over. Oh gods! Naruto and Raven were going to absolutely murk him for this disaster. Still, it is still like it could be get any worse, right? No, surely not. It just couldn't. Surprise, surprise, it could. He had no one to blame but himself. It got worse. Osmond spread his arms before the student body, and with that said, I proudly present these 4 new teams to Beacon. Naruto regarded the room with weary resignation. It wasn't all that large, really. If anything, it proved downright cramped for their little quartet. 4 beds did not a large space make. Certainly not when the 3 girls were involved. If it were just him and Raven, he would have been quite content sleeping on the floor. But here there was a very rare chance of being trod upon. Even if he didn't, they would all but trip over one another to get anything done. Unfortunately, there was another pressing matter that deemed his attention. Why is everyone looking at me? You're in charge. Glinda adjusted her glasses prim and proper once more. The headmaster did name you the leader of Team Crown. After all, where should we begin? Question. Naruto's hand shot up. How in the hell does a G spell crown? Glinda looked away. Well, it was better than brown or sun. Will chimed. That's been done. Raven shrugged. It could have been green. How would that even work? Osmond had chosen the team names, so he supposed there was some method to his madness. Somewhere, but really it wasn't fair. The other 3 teams, one of which contained Crow, at last had proper monikers given by the letters of their other team: STRQ, Stark, GMBT, Gambit, HNGV, Honey, that sort of thing. But GRWN, Crown, really, what had he been thinking? Maybe it was better to let teams choose their own names. No, that way lay madness as well. No matter how you sliced it, none of them were happy with their given title. At a loss, Naruto cast his gaze about their dorm. So, what now? We're not gonna be able to move around like this. Willow looked at he impatiently. I'm fine with whatever you decide. Raven tore her gaze away with a huff. Of course she is. I'm sorry, did you say something? No, not at all. There it was again, that feeling. They were all looking at him for guidance. Barely a team for 5 minutes, already expecting him to make decisions. He didn't much like that. The mantle of leadership wasn't one he'd asked for, rather one he'd had thrusted upon him. He didn't want the onus of responsibility. Osmond argued he was the only one fit for it. Why? Willow and Glinda could be perfect competent leaders. Raven. No, he could see why she'd not been chosen. She'd been leading them on raids by the end of the day, which still left the matter of their room. He couldn't avoid it any longer. At a loss, he tossed out the first word that came to mind. Bunk beds, he ventured. Maybe that would give us some more room to maneuver around here. Bitchin'. Raven slammed a fist into her palm with a grin. Bunk beds it is. Oh, Willow perked up. I have some rope in my pack. Let's use that. Glinda quirked a brow. I suppose I could utilize my semblance. Everyone went mad. What followed was a mad blur of dust, semblances, and improper construction. Beds rose and fell. Posters went up. Books slid into shelves. Weapons were stored into racks, summoned by one of Raven's many portals. As the 4 of them flitted to and fro, Raven laid claim to the leftmost bunk by right of conquest, and Naruto pounced upon the one below it, leaving Willow and Glinda to choose the remaining beds at their leisure. Voices were raised in discussion, even argument, but no weapons were drawn, nor was blood shed. Somewhere in the madness, Naruto realized he was smiling. He watched the 3 of them squabble and smiled as laughter spilled out into the hall. Well, it wasn't as bad as he feared. Not bad at all, really. Previews. Salem scowled. The girl knew too much. Time and time again, she'd intervened. Time and again, she'd taken useful allies from her, perhaps. It was time someone remedied that. Merlot! Yes, my queen. Bring me one of the prototypes. Crow groaned. I hate being leader. To our team! Drink up! Aren't we a little young for alcohol? Bah! Lata slapped her on the back. Don't be a party pooper. So did you need something, boss? Osmond pinched the brow of his nose. There's been a murder in the dorms. Yin sighed. Aw, crap. Don't tell me it was one of the kids. Worse. Alright, brats. Welcome to combat class, otherwise known as the meat grinder. Step right up. Devils, she's an absolute devil. I heard that, Whiskers. Just for that, you get to face, let's see, aha. Your team can fight Callies. Why? End of Chapter 7. Taking Flight by Neon Zangetsu. Chapter 8, The Fifth Fracture. Only the strongest will survive. Bullshit, by that very logic, we're weak. Together, we're strong. You're wrong. We don't need them. They're weak, holding us back. You'll see. I see. Am I holding you back, Raven? You gonna cut me loose like the rest? Is that how it is? What? No, not you. Never you. I need you. An argument. The fifth fracture. Did you need something, old man? Osmond's hand smacked against his forehead with an audible pop as an old friend plunked down on the corner of his desk. Old man, boss, pain in my ass. Yin's nickname were a dime a dozen these days, and by the gods, did she enjoy relishing needling him? Even after all this time, he'd never grown used to her passive-aggressive behavior. It irked him, infuriated him, calmed him. He wasn't sure how to feel about that. Her moods seemed to shift with the seasons these days. In hindsight, that might be his fault. Yin had been under a fair bit of stress lately, thanks in no small part to the tasks he'd given her, or rather, the one she'd placed upon herself. Here in the sanctity of his tower, they could speak freely without fear of anyone overhearing them. It was a rare opportunity. Such a shame they had to sour it with such foul news. There's been a murder in the dorms. Atop his desk, the blonde brawler went curiously still. Oh, crap. She leaned back and pinched the brow of her nose. Don't tell me it was one of the kids. Worse. He slid a photo across the desk. 4 faces stared up at her within. A third-year team. Another photo joined the first. Yin peered down at the worn picture with a sigh of her own. Team Silver, huh? Metal fingers traced a face. Poor bastards. How did they die? Osmond looked away. They were strangled to death in their sleep, like ice burned with pale flames. Is that so? He had to ask. And do you have any idea who it might be? She finished his sentences with a sigh. No, I don't. Never knew them in my day. Not sure if that's a good thing. And you're certain of this? Future, remember? She tapped a head to her skull. Salem didn't start a murdering spree on my watch. I would have seen something like this in the news. No, the blonde brawler shook her head. This? I don't know what this is. It could be something new. Her shoulders rolled in a slim shrug. Could it be happening in your time or not? Don't know. A silver brow quirked. You are being awfully blaze about this. Kinda have to be, old man. I'd lose my mind otherwise. That was the crux of the matter, wasn't it? Time travel was a dangerous thing, an impossibility, some might say. The young woman sprawled across his desk wasn't Yin at all. Rather, it was an alias she'd taken for herself. Her real name was Yang. She'd not given him her surname for understandable reasons. Wouldn't do to erase herself from existence after all. And so a woman out of time and a man who could not die joined forces. At first, he hadn't wanted to believe it. He didn't at first. In the end, reality convinced him. That and ruthless pragmatism. Yang simply knew too much, and with that knowledge, answers Jin couldn't possibly supply. The relic of knowledge could speak of many things past and present, but not the future. Everything this young woman said that had come to pass. The Branwen twins came to begin. Summer Rose, a girl with silver eyes, was even now walking these hallowed halls. She had found for him other warriors of repute, even another silver-eyed warrior he'd not known of. To think the Grim Reaper actually existed. Yes, Yang was his ally, if nothing else. She'd even gone out of her way to recruit those whom she claimed would be enemies in the near future. Others were allies, or at least she swore they would be. Osmond wasn't entirely certain if that was a good thing, but he trusted her judgment. Thanks to her, the ranks of Beacon and the other academy swelled with future huntsmen. All the while, Salem had been strangely silent. She'd not steered him wrong thus far. And your parents are here? Definitely, she winked. I can't really say any more than that. I still wanna exist, you know? The immortal stippled his fingers. And you believe you will, despite all the changes you've wrought? Are we doing this again? She sat up with a growl, flames flicking from her eyes. You already know my story. The like orbs narrowed upon him anew. Salem took everything from me. Her fingers creaked ominously against the desk. My mother, my sister, my team. You know what we had to give up for this second chance? He did, and chose not to press her on it. I could have gone anywhere. Instead, I came to you. Her finger hit out against his chest, pushing against his scar. Because I trust you. That metal digit dug in, pressed in painfully against his skin. Because Oscar trusted you. You do realize I still have no idea who that is? Yeah, try dying in a decade or two. She flicked his forehead, drawing a wince from him. I guarantee you'll wind up as him. Until then, yes, I know. He shooed her off his desk. We've work to do. Off you go. Class will be in session soon. And the incident? I'll have Maria and Ublik look into it, he promised her. Right now, you're needed here. Spoil sport. Yang sat up with a sigh and sauntered back to the elevator. Fine. Twist my leg, why don't you? I'm going. She had altered things to be sure. This would work. This could work. She was already so much more than she'd been now. Her skills were sharp. The power was safe with her. Perhaps it had been a cruel thing to replace an old maiden with a new, but he saw it as a mercy. In her hands, the might of fall would never fall into the hands of the enemy. Wait, oh gods, he was making puns. She'd infected him. Regardless, now that he knew what was to come, he could and had made preparations aplenty. This was but another. Miss Yang, she paused to 1 foot in the door. Do be careful. Our enemies have been too quiet. You are our fall maiden, after all, which means, like eyes flamed with fresh flame. Yep, when Salem wants this power. Now it was Osmond's turn to interject. She will come for you, of course. She has to. She must. Yang ground her metal fist against an open palm. Her smile reminded him of a sunny dragon. I'm counting on it. Salem scowled. The girl knew too much. Time and time again she'd intervened. Time and again she'd taken allies from her. Perhaps it was time someone remedied that. Merlot. Yes, my queen. Bring me one of my prototypes. Time for class. Naruto creaked an eye open in bed. No. Your team leader. Thin hands pulled at him. Get up. He buried his head under a pillow. You be team leader. Let me sleep. By that argument alone, it promised to be a memorable day for Team Crown. And no, Naruto still couldn't get over that name. He was petty like that. His sleepy mind clung to such thoughts as he curled up under the covers. Why Osmond had gone so far as to name him the leader over Glinda, he had no idea. At this point, he was sure the old man was doing it just to mess with a lot of them. It couldn't be anything less than deliberate, or perhaps it was that Yin's doing. She struck him as the meddler. That one certainly wasn't afraid to bend the rules when it suited her. Really, it was high time someone gave her a taste of her own medicine, maybe even a proper spanking. Rise and shine. Ah! Naruto yelped as reality snapped back, because Raven ripped the blankets from his grasp, exposing his warm body to the bitter chill of morning air. And bereft of balance, he tumbled to the floor in a tangle of arms and legs, hissing furiously. Cold! Dying! Glinda rolled her eyes. By the brothers, you are such a boy. Oddly enough, Raven tossed her hair. On that, we agree. Get dressed already. Naruto craned his head in vain, hoping to find the last voice of reason in the room. Instead, he discovered an empty cot where Willow should have been. His right eye twitched. Traitor! Deserting him in his time of need. Wait, where's Willow? Glinda quirked about him. She got tired of waiting for you and left for class 5 minutes ago. Oh! His heart fell, then rose again as he felt a curious tugging sensation against his chest. He looked down. Why is there a note tapped to my chest? Frowning, he plucked it from his nightshirt and frowned at the pale piece of paper. He noticed the Schnee insignia in the corner at once. Must have come from Willow's notepad. Figured she'd have her own stationery. She struck him as the type. Under Glinda's baleful glare, he plucked it from his chest and read it aloud, for 3 lines of text awaited him within. I'll save you a seat. The others can go hang for all I care. Warm regards, Willow Schnee. There was a smudge of lipstick besides those words. Raven saw it and sputtered. Glinda flushed to the very roots of her hair. Has she no shame? She barely even knows you. Naruto shrugged. If it was a prank, then it was a damn good one. And things were looking up. Maybe little Miss Schnee wouldn't be such a bad teammate after all. Class couldn't possibly be that bad. Monsters, demons, prowlers of the night. Professor Port launched into his lecture. Yes, the creatures of Grimm have many names, but I call them prey. Naruto stiffened. No, surely not. This was a joke. It had to be a joke. It was not. Let me tell you a story of a dashing young lad. Naruto's head struck his desk. Raven joined him a heartbeat later. Willow, for all her patience, wasn't far behind. To her credit, Glinda managed to last 30 seconds before she succumbed. It's got to be a semblance, right? Got to be. Naruto concealed a jaw-popping yawn behind the back of his hand as he stumbled out into the hall. Port weaponizes his voice somehow and uses it to hypnotize people. How else would everyone fall asleep like that? There's just no way. Crow snorted. Speak for yourself. Summer made me take notes. Couldn't make heads or tails of anything. Lucky you. Raven bit back a yawn, pausing just long enough to push open a door before she staggered. My head still feels numb. Well, you are pretty dense. Brat! She threw a mean right hook at his head and missed horribly. The younger Branwen thumbed his nose at her. Oh, you want to go, do ya? Fine, bye. Crow, no! A girl with striking silver eyes lashed onto him before he could truly step in it. Bad bird, she's your sister, don't fight! Ah, come on, stop it, Summer. He struggled in her grasp to no avail. We do this all the time. Raven pounced. Does Widow Quo need a girl to fight for him now? Glinda quirked a brow. And suddenly everything makes sense. What's that supposed to mean? Naruto smiled softly as the siblings continued to squabble, much to the consternation of their teams. He caught the eye of the dark-skinned girl, Rumple, and received only a shrug in return. At least she was civil enough. The blond boy beside her was not. Striking blue eyes met his and glowered at him with such intensity that he found himself forced to look away. The hell was his problem? Reluctantly, he looked away from Crow's team and returned his gaze. All told, Crow Branwen looked good, better than good, like he finally found his place in the wide wild world of theirs. So too his foster brother looked more alive than he'd been in years. Good for him. If anyone deserved a bit of happiness on this life, it was Crow. Gone were the dark circles under his eyes, replaced by a cheery grin. His telltale slouch was nowhere to be seen, replaced by a spring in his step. He couldn't remember the last time he'd seen him this chipper. If anyone deserved it. I get to share a dorm with 2 hot chicks. Oh, what's not to love? Naruto winced. Ain't all it's cracked up to be, let me tell you. Crow concealed a smirk as they reached their destination. Alright, new bloods. Alright, maybe not so chipper after all, because they all knew that voice. Welcome to combat class, otherwise known as the meat grinder. Step right up. Who's the first victim? A collective groan passed through the first years as Miss Yen strode out onto the stage, grinning from ear to ear, arms raised high. She seemed to bask in their suffering. Cheeky witch. He was just about to fling a taunt her way to that effect when he noticed something, or rather, the lack thereof. Blue eyes fluttered in a rapid blink, once, twice, thrice. Yin was missing her right arm. Oh, she had a fair prosthetic there to be sure, all black and gold painted over the metal limb, but actually seeing it up close startled him. He'd not noticed it before. How? It seemed impossible to miss. She didn't so much as bother to hide her injury. If anything, she seemed to bask in it, uncaring of the curious stares that passed over. It didn't last. Yin caught him staring and quirked a brow. See something you like? Crow groaned. Raven joined him. We lost to a cripple? You bet, her grin grew, and since you're so damn gung-ho about it, why don't you come on up? It grew to shit-eating proportions. Her eyes roved over them. All four of you, step right up, Team Crown. The false fingers of her metal hand crooked their way. Let's see if you deserve the nickname of yours. Naruto's smile fractured. Devil. She's an absolute devil. I heard that, Whiskers. Yin rounded on him. Just for that, you get to face. Let's see. Aha. Your team fates Giras. She placed two fingers to her mouth and whistled sharply. That be you, Team Gambit. Step right up, would you kindly? It wasn't hard to miss the eclectic bunch. Three faunas and one human tended to stick out like a sore thumb. And oh dear, the scorpion over there looked like he wanted blood. Was Crow's semblance rubbing off on him? Instead, Branwen gave him a hearty slap on the back to spur him forward. Good luck. Willow met him there with an elbow. We'll follow your lead. Naruto stabbed both hands into his pockets and tried not to sulk. He failed spectacularly. What does that make you, my second or something? Raven all but squawked. Hey, I call bullshit. What, you told me you didn't want it? Their knee preened. I'll do my best to uphold this honor. Raven seethed at her back as their opponents entered the arena opposite him. Something told him they'd be bitter enemies or fast friends by the end of this. He wasn't sure which. At least Glinda appeared calm enough. She'd not said a word since. Naruto took a deep breath for calm. Right. Orders. He could do this. Glinda, his gaze flicked to his fellow blonde first. You'll play support with Willow. Raven and I will handle offense. Is that wise? Goodwitch adjusted her spectacles. From the look of them, Team Gambit is comprised of close combat fighters. Alright, runts. Naruto didn't have the chance to answer because Jian stirred the pot. Winner gets an automatic pass on the first test. Team Gambit quirked up. Tyrion tittered. Nothing personal. Victims? Yin whistled. Ready, set, go! Just like that, the battle was joined. Previews. Right then, big guns. He rejoined around Prophecy's hilt and squeezed a heating trigger between the hilt and handle. With a whirled click, the whip sword gave away, segments lengthening and condensing into something else altogether. Don't use your semblance again, Marcus. His keen ears heard Gira's voice over the noise. We've left that life behind us. The silver-haired boy rolled his eyes. Yeah, don't twist my arm. Kali looked to favor a ranged weapon. Can you? Willow drew what looked to be a simple short sword from the sheath at her side. At a glance, one could see it sparkled with dust. Not quite a sword then, but not a rapier either. I'll deal with her. Then I'll take Marcus. Glinda opened. His gaze swept out over them and lighted on one individual. For some reason, he couldn't help but peg them as a threat. Tyrion, then, he declared. Sure, leave me with the big brute. Why not? I know you'll win. Raven dithered for a brief moment. Her eyes swept left, now right. Then she darted in like her namesake. Warm lips alighted upon a whiskered cheek. Yin whistled. Crow absolutely gagged. Willow hummed in quiet appreciation. Naruto was of a lesser mind on the matter. What the hell was that for? Making a statement. With a dark look at Glinda and Willow alike, she drew her blade and flounced away to meet her foe. Her lips swayed in a manner that just had to be deliberate. He refused to believe anything else. Future ain't set in stone, kid. Have fun. Naruto shook his head as Yin sashayed away. Crazy lady. I heard that. Extra lap on the double. To our team. Drink up. Aren't we a little too young for alcohol? Bah. Naruto slapped her on the back. Don't be a party pooper. End of chapter 8.